Hi, this is Cherie Currie from the Runaways, and you are listening to MOSHPIT Radio.
What's up, MOSHPIT on SYN listeners? My name is Stefan, and I'm about to interview a true legend of rock and roll, one of the leaders of the Runaways. Despite only being active in the second half of the 1970s, the Runaways created a legacy that still impacts popular culture today. On the line, we have Cherie Currie, also known as the original Cherry Bomb, who fronted the Runaways. Cherie will be doing a tour of Australia and New Zealand throughout the month of May in support of her latest solo album, Reverie. Cherie Currie, welcome to the MOSHPIT.
Stefan, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be with you.
Thank you. So is this your first time in Australia, Cherie?
It is 40 years waiting, my friend. 40 years I've wanted to go to Australia because, believe it or not, we were told just after our first album that we had gone gold in Australia, so we were jumping up and down and thinking we were going to go. And never did. So I've just felt so bad. I just wanted to see Australia. I've watched all your TV shows. I'm a big fan.
So what can fans expect from your live shows?
I just do all the songs that people want to hear. I do the Runaways songs. I do a couple tributes, and I do some songs from the Runaways movie and also some from Reverie.
Also, now, over a year ago, you did release your third solo studio album, Reverie, about 35 years since your last solo album. So why the huge gap?
Because after I did Messing with the Boys with Marie, I walked away from the business. I went in and started doing movies, and then I became a wife and a mom. So raising my son does take time. And then the Runaways, I started picking up a chainsaw and doing chainsaw carving for a living for the last 15 years. And then this movie happened from my book that I wrote in 1989. And it just, from there, I just started performing again. It's great.
Cool. So now your ex-bandmate Lita Ford performed on this album. So did it just feel like the old days?
It did. Only better because we didn't get along so well when we were kids. So yeah, it was great. And she also had me do a Christmas single with her called Rock This Christmas Down. And so she actually asked me to perform with her first, and that, to me, was just incredible to be in a studio with her again and for her to produce and do this great tune. You should hear it. It's great. So, yeah, it's great to have her in my life, and it's great that I got to spend time with Kim Fowley before he died, and for me, it's just been a blessing. It really has.
So the band's signature song, Cherry Bomb, or the Runaways' signature song, was written just so you could audition on it. So can you tell us about that story?
Well, the thing is they asked me to learn a Suzi Quatro song, and I learned Fever off her record. And the girls were not happy about that. So Kim and Joan went into the house, and we were actually doing this in a garage. Believe it or not, they were auditioning me in a garage, a carport. And they went into the house, and they came out just about 15 minutes later with Cherry Bomb. Kim had written this song for me. And that man was so brilliant as a songwriter. In working with him on Reverie, I had no idea, no clue. I was too young to appreciate his brilliance, and he was amazing. He really was.
Now, the topic of women in the music industry is brought up quite a bit today, such as whether sexism and patriarchy makes it harder for women to get ahead, or if things are getting easier or better. Now, the Runaways were a band in the 70s that consisted of school-age girls, so just how hard was it back then to be taken seriously?
Well, it hadn't been done before, and we were teenagers. It's so funny because I hear people saying how hard it is today, and to me, I don't see that. I really don't. I mean, of course, I was in the trenches in the 70s when women especially teenage girls, I mean, you just didn't play rock and roll. We had Suzi Quatro, thank God. And Fanny, but the thing is I don't see it as that difficult for women anymore.
Huh. Interesting. So we mentioned Lita Ford before, so what contact do you have with the other members of the Runaways?
Well, me and Joan are very close. Of course, Sandy West and I were best friends until her death. I don't really speak to Jackie, but otherwise, Joan and Lita and I, we still talk. It's good. We've got a good relationship.
So it's been over 40 years since the inception of the Runaways. So how come there hasn't been a reunion tour?
Well, that is really because I guess Lita and Joe just need to work some things out. That's really the only reason.
Really? That's the only reason they're not getting along too well?
Yeah, that is the only reason. Honestly, I'm actually going to say I've worked with all the girls individually since the breakup of the band. So, it's just, Lita and Joe just have to work some things out, and then maybe it'll happen, but I don't think it will, honestly.
Oh, dear. Please make it happen for us. That'd be awesome.
I would love it. Hey, I've always been waiting, but I just don't see it at this point. But who knows? Maybe they can work things out, and it will. We'll see.
The Runaways movie came out 6 years ago, which is a drama film based on your memoirs, loosely based, as I believe you've mentioned. So what do you think of the movie itself?
Well, I think, it's not exact by any means, but how do you take 2 years of craziness and put it into 90 minutes? You really can't. But I think that the acting was off the map. Of course, Dakota Fanning is one of my favorite actors of all time, and Kristen Stewart was fantastic, and Michael Shannon was great. And I also think Floria Sigismonte really captured the 70s in such an artful way that I can't say anything but positive things about that film. And also my book came out at the same time, so if people really wanted to know more about what happened, they could get the book. So I'm thrilled.
The press release that I received for your tour says, The Runaways are one of the biggest stories of the 70s and will go down in history for their legacy as an all-teenage girl hard rock act that sparked controversy in every teenage boy's desire. So with that in mind, can you describe the sort of groupies that attended the Runaway shows, both boys and girls?
Well, it was equal. In Japan, it was a lot more girls. Isn't that funny? But, it makes sense as well because girls, their whole thing in Japan was a little oppressive for women. But, we had equal men and girls and boys, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say men and women. It was really more girls and boys. But, I think that we really did crack through that wall, especially in Japan for young girls that felt a bit oppressed.
Can you tell us more about your chainsawing, carving thing? What's the most recent thing you've carved?
My chainsaw carving thing? Well, I became a chainsaw artist 15 years ago, and it was a fluke. But the thing is that if it hadn't have been for that little voice in my head that was telling me that I needed to do this, even though I was frightened to death, because picking up a chainsaw, especially someone, I'm small, I was scared, but I had to do it. That voice was telling me, you have to do this. And I immediately started, placing in competitions and winning ribbons. And it was great for me because I got past the fear of a very dangerous, deadly tool. And I think getting past fear is a great thing.
Are you aware of the song The Lumberjack by Jackal, the one with the chainsaw solo?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, yeah, you should look it up. So it's an American band, and they have a song called The Lumberjack, and the singer has a chainsaw solo in the song.
Wow, I bet I could do that.
Yeah, you should maybe try that on your next solo album. Do a little bit of a chainsaw solo. That'd be pretty rock and roll,
okay.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll think about it. That's funny.
Yep. So we'll talking before the interview started. So you don't really listen to any of the any new bands today, is that right?
I really don't. I listen to classic rock, or I listen to my son's band, Maudlin Strangers. He just had an album come out, and to be honest, no, I just don't. I'm a classic rock girl.
And what did you listen to growing up? Because 70s, that was basically the peak of rock and roll.
Oh yeah, David Bowie, Suzi Quatro, Elton John, Alice Cooper, Led Zeppelin. Oh my goodness gracious! It just goes on and on. Wow. I could make out a list, but those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Cherie Currie's latest solo album, Reverie, is out now, and she'll be playing shows in Australia and New Zealand throughout the month of May, with the Melbourne show at the Corner Hotel in Richmond on Saturday, the 28th of May. So check that out to hear some classic The Runaway songs. So Cherie Currie, thank you so much for your time on the MOSHPIT on SYN.
Thanks, Stefan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll see you in Australia.